Yeah, what we're going to do today is talk about help musicians, talk about the support that's available to you, and we'll talk about also, how long we've been around, what our primary sort of purpose is. Then we'll drill down into the actual application form and build those skills and show you how all that works. And then we'll leave time at the end for Q&A as well. So yeah, first of all, just say, I'm Barnaby. I've been working for help musicians for 4 years now. And before that, I worked in the industry for a little bit, and I do some music supervision on the side. I did a music course as well at university, specialising in sonic art. And I'm a big fan of jazz as well, so it would be good to talk to all you guys and signpost you to all the support that we're able to give to jazz musicians. So yeah, if we want to share the presentation, that'd be great.
Okay, here we go.
So yeah, we go straight to slide 2.
Yeah, let me see if I can make it nice and big.
Oh, of course.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yep. Okay, slide 2.
So help musicians. Who are help musicians? We've been around for 100 years. We were previously called the Musicians Benevolent Fund, and we rebranded in 2014. Traditionally, we were there for musicians in times of crisis, in times of health and welfare. Of course, we were founded in 1921, and it was founded by Elgar and Vaughan Williams in memory of their friend called Gervais Yules, who was a really talented tenor, and he was touring America at the time of his death, where it was actually a crazy story. It was a train crash, and so yeah, they made a charity in his memory, and yeah, since then we've been supporting artists, supporting musicians all that time. In 1980 we expanded out into a creative program as well, so we've been helping musicians with project funding as well. And more recently, we've been helping with business mentoring as well, so advice sessions and guiding your projects. So yeah, we're quite an agile sort of charity in the way that we support musicians, and we're music lovers ourselves, and that's why we support musicians behind the music, so that they can thrive and our whole industry can thrive as well. So yeah, just helping musicians to overcome any challenges in their lives, and their careers, and support them create, survive and thrive. Last year, of course, we were able to support 19,000 musicians with our hardship funding, but also supported 500 musicians to take up opportunities like create and develop projects as well. So yeah, on to the next slide, please.
Oh, hang on, why can't I do that? I think I have to go out and come back in every time.
If you press the arrow, I think, on presentation mode.
Yeah, I think it's more to do with the sharing thing.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Have you got the next slide then?
Yeah, that's perfect. So, yeah, supporting musicians to create. So this is our project funding side. And yeah, it's all about kind of all the support that we cover is the creation side and also the business advice. So we don't just give you the grant, we actually help guide your process, and we employ experts to help advise you on your journey. So yeah, it's bringing your ideas to life, we say, and turning your musical projects into a reality. So at the moment, we've got open our flagship fund, which is called Do It Differently, which is precisely kind of all our holistic support in one. So you get a grant of £3,000, you get business advice sessions along with that, which you choose topics of, and you get a budget as well for health and welfare services up to £1,000. So stuff like physiotherapy and all that sort of thing, which we'll delve into a bit later on. So the deadline for that is on the 15th of March at 9 AM, which is a Monday. And we'll kind of have a look at the application later if you're interested in that. Yeah, and so you can see what it's all about. One thing I'd like to signpost to you guys in particular as well is our Peter Whittingham, excuse me, Peter Whittingham Jazz Award, which has been around for 30 years. That's a hell of a story too, actually. It was in memory of a medical professional who cured, I'm not sure if it was polio or something like that. Amazing man, and in the memory of him, it was set up. Last year, we changed it and adapted it, enhanced the package. So there was mentoring on top of that as well. And it's a £5,000 prize with development awards alongside as well. So there's £1,500 up for grabs as well alongside that. And it used to be kind of an old school, come in for an audition and a judging panel, that kind of way. But we do it now, so it's more of a kind of productive mentoring, building, project building day and feedback session. So it's worth applying just for some advice on your projects and your performance as well.
That's for early career artists, Barnaby, or is that for anybody?
It is primarily for early career, but mid-career and late career can apply as well. But yeah, if you're working within jazz, that's a really good thing to look out for. Yeah, also that's a good point, because Do It Differently has no specification in terms of where you should be in your career, nor genre specific as well. So it's a really nice open fund, and as you can see there, it's really, yeah, like I say, open in what you can use it for: creating videos, building marketing and PR, hiring session musicians, mixing mastering professionals as well. So do keep a lookout for that one. It's on our website right now.
Is this a next slide moment?
Yes, please.
Hang on. Okay.
Yeah, so this is Constant Follower, who applied to our Do It Differently funds at the moment that we adapted it as well. So I was talking about how we, of course, weren't able to do touring or any live performance. So Do It Differently was specially enhanced to help you do the things that you can do now in these lockdown sort of measures. So stuff like remote collaboration, PR and marketing costs, equipment costs as well. So if you wanted to set yourself up as, a recording sort of operation, you could do that. And with Constant Follower, it really stopped him in his tracks. As you were saying, the value and Do It Differently fund package reaches far beyond the financial support. The financial support enabled the completion of my current project, but the sessions and the mentors have given me the knowledge to take my music forward far beyond this project. Yeah, and he's really gone from strength to strength from receiving the award, because he's been able to collaborate with truly top-class, massive musicians, picked up a few tips and tricks to improve his connection with fans and increase his streams. And following his successful debut last year, he's gone on to sign with his dream label, which is great news for him. So yeah, he came in and did mastering and promoting of his release, which otherwise would have been, completely at a standstill. So we're really proud of him, and yeah, it's a really nice story for him.
Okay, hold on. Incompetence with what's happened here. Go.
No worries. So yeah, so we not only kind of help make the product a reality, if that's the right word, we can also develop your skills, so the intangible kind of aspect of your work, and we do that by enabling people to go and learn mixing and mastering, which is a big thing that we realized people wanted to learn. As I said, we are with Constant Follower. You might want to go get those skills and have them in-house, and you might even want to move into that realm within music in the future. So adding another string to your bow is really important. Also, people use our development sort of funds, it's called Transmission, to hone their skills. So they might have a specialism, learning from a very niche kind of expert from another country, and having those skills in-house. And in the UK, you become, a specialist within that field. So people will, tap you up for really niche work, and you can get a really stable sort of sustainable income from that. So yeah, as you can see, you can do online classes, and people have really taken to that during these lockdown times as well. It's it can be a time, if you do have more time in the diary, to build new skills, and yeah, new specialties as well. And they can either be kind of off the shelf, so you might want to go to mixing mastering class at point blank, or you might want to do something like reach out to a mentor, some musician that you've really always admired, and set up a lesson plan for them and put that proposal forward to us. So yeah, it's a really nice fund, transmission fund it's called. So you might want to check that out. That's going to be opening on the 15th of March. So as did closes, transmission fund opens. And there's just a note about songwriting camps. We're working with a guy called Chris Difford, who you may know of, who's a lyricist in Squeeze, and yeah, frontman of Squeeze. We're offering free songwriting camps at the moment for them, so I'll put a little link at the end if you're interested. There's one starting next week. So yeah. So this is Ruta, who did our transmission fund, and she says, with the live music industry currently being completely frozen, I found myself stuck in the situation of not being able to proceed with any of my creative plans. The transmission funds provided me with so much needed possibility to explore online live music event possibilities through mentorship sessions and online work with musicians. So yeah, this was a really nice story. Again, a little bit like Constant Follower, in that she just had to completely freeze all of her activities because she didn't have those skills in-house. But with us, she came, presented a really good plan and was able to get those skills so she could finish her project, which was a really nice story. And she's become really self-sufficient in doing so, and is able to kind of offer those services out as well in mixing and mastering. Yeah, her EPs will be coming out soon. So if you didn't know already, Help Musicians offers an array of health and welfare services. Stuff like, well, we have an in-house team of professionals who can find the right solution, and they're just, a phone call away. You can talk about your situation. And it's really kind of agile as well. We've done stuff like, buy a musician a washing machine, or provide kit out their house so it's accessible to them if with a disabled musician once. So it's really kind of bespoke, and if you need the help, then we're there to give it to you. So do bear that in mind. Anything to do with debt, bereavement, or injury, anything preventing you from work, or the emotional support, we're able to help with our Music Minds Matter service, which is 24/7 service. You can call up, and there's two options. You can speak to a trained therapist to talk through whatever you like to talk through, or you can speak to an advisor who can advise you on stuff like debt, and really signpost you to all the resources that you can get and refer you on to our in-house team as well. So yeah, worth bearing in mind. We've also got the Musicians Hearing Health Scheme. So it would otherwise be something like £300, £400, something really expensive to get your hearing assessment done and to have bespoke earplugs and an audiological assessment. But with the Musicians Hearing Health Scheme, we heavily subsidise it, so it's only £40, and it's specially designed for performing musicians. And you can have a look at that on Here for Musicians, so Here like here for musicians. So you might not feel comfortable doing that just yet because it's kind of one-to-one in person kind of audiological assessments, but do bear that in mind for later at least. Cool, yeah, so I mentioned earlier the financial hardship funding that we did, where we met the needs of 19,000 applicants that came through with the fallout of COVID-19. So yeah, we were able to give them £500 each, just providing a short sort of application. What we've done since then is we've done new iterations of the support. So we've reacted and responded to the government sort of support that's happening at the moment. So people that fall between universal credit or between SICE, we can help you. So yeah, do bear that in mind. It's called Hardship Phase 3, and it's on our website. You can find out more information about that. We've also collated across the industry all the information that you'd need about this time and all the resources that have been created for musicians on coronamusicians.info. Support and advice from, as I say, across the industry, so UK Music and ISM and everything is just in a centralized space rather than having to trek through everything. So that's our socials there. Yeah, please follow us online, because that's when we announce a lot of things, and all our deadlines and everything on there. So it's worth keeping in touch. But yeah, I think we'll move on to, actually, first, should we take questions on that, on the overall sort of support of Help Musicians, and then we'll move on to application sort of tools and stuff.
Probably, if you pop something in the chat, that's probably the best way, and then we can make sure we see everybody. I might have to exit the screen to see the I'll exit the stop sharing because I can't see the chat. Okay. I can hear people typing, so that's good. Yeah, there might even be a hands up thing on here. Is there a press for your hand up?
No worries. If not, we can move on to the application writing sort of question. I think, Esther, did you have your hand up?
If you want to unmute and just call out.
I was just suggesting at other meetings you can do that rather than, yeah, sorry, forget it.
We have got a question actually. It says, do you fund projects that happen outside the UK, for example, a collaboration with other nations?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it would have to happen primarily in the UK. You can collaborate with people outside of the UK, and you can also, you know, in the time before, you can also do things outside the UK, like, you know, if you were to record, we've had some people record in Portugal. If that's justified really well, you can, and with transmission, you can go travel and everything like that. But activities have to primarily happen in the UK. So recording, releasing, promoting, all that kind of thing, we'd have to have a UK sort of route. I've got one as well here. I think it's just directed to me, but can I apply for mentoring and lessons and do it differently as part of the bigger project? Yeah, so at the moment we've got our transmission fund would be the one for that, because that's our learning and development fund. So yeah, that's for, if build skills and develop learning, that's transmission funds. Do it differently is our kind of product kind of funds, although you do get mentoring with do it differently, but you wouldn't strictly be applying for it.
Yeah, I sat on the participation panel a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, you can apply for £1,500. It's a bit like a much easier version of Develop Your Creative Practice, which is the Arts Council's an Arts Council fund. And if you can put together a coherent application and all your things are eligible, then say you can do some really, you know, it's a kind of great route for some you know, if they're learning online tech skills or mentoring with another person. I thought it was a fantastic fund. And it's your entry fund, is that right?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, we've because it is our learning and development funds, it's just nice to build that narrative. Lots of people come in and they build skills, foundational skills or specialties, and then they come in to do it differently afterwards, and we can see that they've kind of, yeah, built up a kind of momentum through that. So it's nice to see, but you know, entry maybe not in the respect, you know, you're always able to learn new things. I think it was called the Career Development Bursaries before a few years ago, and it had an age cap of 35 for some reason, which we like immediately removed. So yeah, it's open to everyone, no matter what career stage you're at, for sure. If there's a need to learn, then we'd absolutely be able to help.
Okay, any more questions before we go back to the second half of the presentation? Shout out or type. Oh, here we go, here's one. You mentioned the Peter Whittingham Prize is mostly early career, but not exclusively. Can you clarify what that means, please?
Just traditionally, lots of our winners have been kind of coming out of sort of college or conservatoire, and needing that kind of boost and investment to gain momentum. So just thinking about the previous winners, and we use the word emerging a little bit, but I think we're opening up this year, and that's going to be open. It normally opens about October, November. So put that in the diary and check it out, because we're always adapting it.
That's great. So don't make any assumptions and check out the criteria, which may have moved on a bit or may have changed. I'm going to have to direct this to Barnaby, not me. Someone's asked, how many applications do you get it for the Do It Differently scheme? How many get funding?
Yeah, so what we always do is we always kind of respond to the need. So we always try and fund at least 10% of the applications that we get through. Do It Differently is our flagship fund and our most subscribed. So we tend to get about 500 applications through each time. And as I say, we kind of, that'll be 50 supported artists in that round. But yeah, and also just, it's competitive as well, just to say, but not many people get it first time when they apply. So it is kind of like a rolling process, and don't be disheartened if you don't get it.
And in a moment, the next part of your presentation is about how to write that killer application, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a question. I just want to clarify in my head that funds, I think we've mentioned, our transmission, which is a £1,500 for learning and development. Do It Differently, which is,
oh, sorry, yeah, that's £3,000. But it's kind of £5,000 in a wraparound package, because it's mentoring as well, and health and welfare support.
And that fund is for a creative project plus mentoring and support.
Yeah, so it's really nice and open. Recording, releasing, promoting, an emphasis on those kind of things that you can do in the lockdown circumstances as well. And we'll talk about make a safe application.
Then Peter Whittingham is a jazz exclusive, which is nice for everybody to know here. And that, can you just give the 2-second sort of summary of what that is for and the funding amount?
Yeah, so it's really similar actually in Do It Differently, and that's really nice and open. You can do recording, releasing, promoting, and it's a £5,000 prize. So there's only one of those, but you can get development awards as well across that, and mentoring. So we give out about 3 or 4 or 5 development funds. And just to say as well, that is less subscribed. So we only get about 50 applications each year for that. So it's less competitive.
Okay, so that's good to know, because I had always assumed it was one award winner, but it's one major award winner, and then there are a few more development awardees. So that's 3 funds. Are there anything I've missed? Hello, someone was asking a question, or was I echoing? Don't know.
Not sure.
So that's 3 funds. Are there any others that I've missed?
Those are our primary ones at the moment. We've also got the Fusion Fund as well, which is £5,000 for cross-art collaboration. So if you wanted to do a project that's maybe a little bit more experimental, collaborating with, say a playwright or a scientist or a historian. So there's some really interesting projects that come through that, and it basically funds the research and development of that idea. So workshopping it and building a concept, and it's quite maybe a bit of a larger scale production as well. So you're using lots of collaborators.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. Are there any questions on this bit before we move on? Shout out or type. Okay. Oh, when does the Fusion Fund next open?
We still have dates TBC about that, but I think about halfway through the year. June is to look out for it. So yeah, if you sign up to our newsletter or follow our social media channels, we'll definitely let you know through that.
Okay, I'm going to open up the, I'm going to do the share button again. I've lost it. There's the share button. And we'll go back to the presentation, and there's some time at the end. So save up your questions or put them in the chat and we'll gather them up at the end. Okay, here we go.
So yeah, as I said, yeah, we're going to go through the applications. And yeah, as Tamsin kind of pointed out, it's quite a simple application form. We want to make it as kind of accessible and easy as possible, while still getting the essential information about you and about your project. So it's a kind of structure, and we want your bio, so your past, and we want your project, which is kind of what you want to do in the present, and then the impact, so the future, so a year down the line, you know, who will you be, what will the project be like, and how is that going to help you? And these essential questions kind of create a story, so they create that narrative of where you want to go. And yeah, it's important to kind of think about it in that way when you're writing an application or recording your video application, which is also an option for this as well. And people can get really creative about, no, it's okay. People can get really creative about video applications as well, and they can do sort of editing. You know, you don't have to, but that is an option.
Okay.
Cool. So the first part of it is your bio. So what you've achieved so far. So tell us about your performances, radio play, you know, support slots, festival slots, everything you're proud of. And you might even want to talk about previous kind of projects and how you project manage those as well. Just to say, the strongest bios, you know, aren't just a copy and paste of your press release, although of course it will have the bulk of what you put in your press release. But I find it's really good if you write it in first person. You know, you tell us about you, and your kind of essentially your voice comes through that as well. So talking about the people and places that have shaped you as an artist is really great. In terms of the Do It Differently Fund, thinking about your audience as well, because with Do It Differently Fund, it's for independent music creators. So tell us about times you self-released, self-promoted, self-marketed yourself, self-directed your projects, and yeah, that's what we really want to hear, and how you're an independent artist as well. So those are the key words. Yeah, so in your projects, I think it's a really nice format if you are gonna write it, to do it in bullet points, and maybe kind of yeah, format it a little bit like a sort of job description. So you might have a few bullet points and then elaborate them afterwards. Put them in chronological order. Tell us the names of the people involved. You know, don't skimp on any detail at all. Names, rates, and dates, and justify these names, these chosen collaborators. You know, maybe they're the best in their field, or maybe they have a resonance with your local music community. So you're really justifying everyone and everything that you've put in place. And also the strongest projects are the ones that you've kind of gone out and almost like you're kind of getting a quote from people. You know, you've got a ready-made kind of project that can just go, and you've demonstrated that to us. So yeah. Yeah, the impact of funding, and it's really hard not to say these words, but yeah, I want to take my career to the next level. Really think about what that means, and what you want to sort of create for yourself. We want to see the tangible results. So think about in a year's time, or think about in an artist is an exercise for you. Think about an artist that's a little bit further down the line from where you are, where you want to sort of be, and ask yourself, what venues are they playing? How many numbers are they hitting? How do they reach their audiences? And then kind of mimic their journey. Think about the team that they've got around them. Think about how they reach that point, and you can just kind of trace their journey and use it as your own as well. As say, yeah, now we're back from their stage to yours. So yeah, you can easily do that. Yeah, and think about where you want to be in a year, because that's a lot easier than thinking about where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, and quantifying that as well. So qualitative and quantitative results of yourself. You know, you want to develop your project, you want to develop yourself, your creative practice, you know, add skills to yourself, so you have a more sustainable operation, but you also want to you know, get more listeners, do more CD sales. You can quantify that. You know, how many are you doing at the moment, and how many are you going to sell when you've done your social media marketing campaign. Yeah, a few things to remember. Use the word counts. Of course, yeah, don't waffle, but make sure that you've you've really done your best to use the word count. Make sure the budget adds up. So if you're asking for 2,000, for example, you should have 2,000 grant listed in the income part of the budget. Keep it simple. Make sure your writing makes sense by getting a friend to read it. Ensure your online presence is up to date. Strongest and most recent music examples first. For video, prepare your answers in advance of recording. So have like some copy you can do, and you can just do it straight to iPhone if you like. Not dissimilar to what we're doing. You can submit that way. So yeah, that's about the sum of it, really.
Oh, we reached the end. Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Come out. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, speak up or type in the chat if you've got any questions from that. I noticed, Barnaby, you said you might have to apply, I don't know how many times people are successful first time round, but if you do apply and you get shortlisted, your application gets shortlisted panel, there's something about feedback, isn't there?
That's right, yeah. So just about the process. So when you submit your application to us, we look at it in-house and we kind of divvy up each section of your application. So that includes stuff like a risk assessment, which you have to do in our applications for COVID-19 safety sort of things. So we mark that part, and if you reach a certain marking standard, then we elevate these applications to an independent panel of experts from across the UK to look at them, and they score them as well, and they give feedback. So we're able to pass that expert feedback on to you if you've reached shortlist.
I've got some questions here. So with video applications, how long do they usually have to be? So that's if you're giving a video statement to answer one of those questions, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, so they have to be 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes. And it's up to 500 words written application and up to 2 minutes for video application. Yeah, and there's a really good question as well. With video applications, can all 3 sections be videos? What's really nice is you can do like a hybrid. So lots of people like to do their bios as a video and talk about their background. And like I was saying, they could, some people are flashy and they can put, little snippets of their gig or little press cuttings and stuff like that. And then do their projects outline as written, and then do their impact as written or a video. So you can really kind of mix it up and make it quite a dynamic kind of application, which is cool.
Okay. Do you think jazz gets a good look in at Help Musicians?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have kind of jazz classical roots, which we always celebrate. We've done a lot to kind of diversify our genre spec, and I think, did really kind of exemplifies that, in that we kind of hope to represent everyone and every genre and everything. So we really take diversity seriously, but we love jazz. I think in-house we've got a lot of jazzers who really enjoy the new jazz and also the traditional jazz as well.
We've done, can all 3 sections be videos? So someone here is asking, running an independent music school, is there any avenue for funding this? And if so, which one? Unfortunately, we're kind of more directed to the independent musician and what they do. What I would, just from what you've kind of said there, who I would recommend would be Youth Music, who have funds A, B, and C, and I think C would be quite good for that one, so go check that out. Unfortunately not. I think it's good to kind of look at the funding landscape and kind of see who's within it. So Arts Council
yeah, if I may be so bold, you know, they kind of support kind of a musical leader within their community, and they're all about community funds and engaging the community in arts and stuff. PRS Foundation, they're interested in enriching the musical landscape, so they want to increase diversity and help create new original music within the UK industry. I think help musicians within that are interested in you as an individual. So thinking about musicians' health and sustainability within the music industry as well. So think about that when you're writing applications to each funding body. And youth music, of course, within that are interested in. They work a lot with the industry, but also introducing young people into music and music industry. So yeah, that'd be a good one to go for.
And on that one, a connection to your local music education hub would be a good move as well.
Yeah.
Okay, question from Ollie Bryce. Would paying yourself for your time recording be an expected part of the budget?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we do have a eligibility part called time to create, and that would be for times that you would otherwise be working. You're able to take that time off but still pay yourself. So I think maybe in the recording process you wouldn't be able to pay yourself, but you know, any reasonable costs associated with, you know, time sacrifice is good. And you can look at the musicians union rates as well for casual rates. I think that's a good spec to look at. Just to say as well, yeah, with session musicians and performance and all that kind of thing, we do reference the musicians union rates. So have a look at that. It's actually embedded within our application, the PDF for all what you should be paying musicians. So yeah.
Okay, is there an average percentage of a project that Help Musicians fund? And do you prefer to fund creative costs rather than overheads?
Yeah, what would you mean by overheads?
Elaine, do you want to just unmute and go for it?
Yes, I mean, would you be more looking to fund the costs of artists' work themselves rather than the marketing aspect or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the strongest projects are ones that have lots of different aspects to them and lots of different components. So yeah, if you're doing a recording, releasing project, it's good to put a bit of PR marketing and stuff in there. I think we look more kindly on PR costs if it's if it's really detailed what they're doing for you and it's really kind of watertight, that offer. And stuff like social media marketing, which you can do by yourself, and you know, using like Facebook ads and stuff really does work. So you're able to quantify that and use that. But yeah, a real kind of fusion of different aspects is the strongest kind of one. And the average of a project, is there an average? Yeah, what did you mean? Sorry, of an average percentage of a project that UK?
I mean, if a project costs a certain amount of money and you're funding £3,000 worth, does it worry you if the project's really expensive? And you know, are you looking at your risk when you fund that £3,000?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think for Do It Differently, it is aimed at independent artists, either working solo or up to ensembles of 6 people. So we're looking at maybe a smaller scale projects and smaller scale sort of artist EP releases, album releases, that kind of thing. So yeah, if you're looking for larger scale, I'd say go for, you know, Momentum Fund, PRSF, or Arts Council kind of funding as well. And that's another kind of positioning thing. We offer kind of a little bit smaller grants compared to PRSF, who go to up to like £15,000. We go up to 5, and then Arts Council, you can, yeah.
Can I jump in at this point and ask if an application came in and there was a partnership with Arts Council or PRSF, is that acceptable?
It is, yeah. I mean, I think it's really good. It works in your favour if you've been, resourceful in finding other modes of funding, and if it shows that awareness as well. And if you've shown that you're, using a transmission fund application, for example, to do those development skills, and then an arts council to use those development skills as well. That shows like a really good sort of plan and narrative in your application.
Okay, that's good to know. So next one is, okay, so I think, so if no feedback is given on an application, is that possibly because it was just way off the mark? It's impossible to learn from the experience if there's no indication of which areas to target.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it doesn't necessarily mean it was way off the mark. But yeah, I think your reference to start off from is the what we can fund and what we can't fund section, because anything that falls, if you ask for a laptop, automatically we see that in your budget and won't be able to take it forward. So that's our kind of initial sift for criteria. If it meets that, if everything's eligible within your costings, it will go to a long list, and then we have the job, which is really difficult, to narrow all those applications down into a short list, which we send on to experts. And unfortunately, we just don't have the capacity to give everyone, we get 500 to 600 applications, do it differently. We just don't have the capacity, unfortunately, in-house, although we'd love to give specified tailored feedback to everyone. But as I say, if you keep on trying and if you keep on going for it, then you'll maybe reach, you'll either get it or you'll get to shortlist, and you will get some specified personalized feedback. So yeah.
So make sure first of all you're eligible and don't apply for something that's not in the criteria. And then if you follow all the things you said, hopefully your application will get to shortlist panel. And if you're not successful, you'll still get some individual feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So Aaron has asked, who sits on the application panel?
So yeah, we mix it up entirely. It's people that are not working for Help Musicians at all. We don't make the decisions or recommendations. It's experts within fields, within their genres across the UK. Because we're a UK-wide charity, we've got an office in Northern Ireland, we've got one in Scotland, and we've just done some research in Wales as well about the industry there. So we might open an office in time in Cardiff. But so we look to engage experts from across the UK as well that have those skills. So we'll get an expert in jazz, we'll get an expert in classical. So every need is catered for, and every application is looked at properly.
Okay. Do you recommend the video application or written applications treated equally?
Yeah, they actually, they really are treated equally. There's no kind of weighing sort of scale when you get to the shortlist. You look at it and you think there's just, most people do written applications. But I think you could really create a strong, like I was saying before, hybrid application where you've got, maybe a video bio, and then you've got the next two sections written down. But yeah, I think there's no bias really. As long as you get the details in, that's the main thing, because detail is key.
Okay, I think we've asked this one, but I think John had to leave and come back in. He asked, are Help Musicians open to partner funding if your project would benefit from a larger budget than the award offered? I think we said yes.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we just to flag as well. We say in our eligibility criteria that do it differently shouldn't be, or any of our funds shouldn't be seen as a top-up funder. So the rule of thumb that you might want to use is, if it's £3,000, we do it differently. So 10%. So if you're going for another £10,000, then it might dwarf the impacts of the Do It Differently fund a little bit, because we want to do the maximum impact for as much money for as much as a £3,000 can go for. So although it's good to see other partners involved and good to see your resourcefulness in attaining other funding, it might not be suitable if it's attached to a massive kind of scale project.
Yeah, there's always also, yeah, that I understand that, because then if your project's 15,000 for, maybe it's a very expensive recording, then if you don't get the HMUK, yeah, you can't do the recording at all. Or if you don't get the other bit, then you can't do the project.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless if that was already confirmed, which you never know, would that change it?
If it was already confirmed, sorry.
If you had the 10,000 confirmed and you were coming in for the bit from Help Musicians, would that be a different?
Yeah, I mean, it would still be the sort of rule of thumb, I think, you know, that maybe it's not the appropriate sort of project for a Do It Differently fund if they have, you know, £10,000 already, already confirmed, because we're looking at economic need as well. So, you know, does this person need it as much as the person that's not got any funding at all? But it's all about how you justify it and telling us about the project in full detail.
Okay, so there's two more that I've got here. Would you fund development of an existing project?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying with our constant follower person in the presentation, so he kind of reached a point in his career, in his project, where he'd recorded stuff. So his project to us was mixing and mastering and releasing and the promotion. So if you mean in that regard, then that would be absolutely fine. It's how you segment it in your project application.
And just checking.
Sorry, Barnaby, I was going to write. I was going to type, but then I thought it's much easier to speak.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, in terms of funding developments of a project, I kind of meant. So, for example, I mean, Jazz have just funded a project that I've done, which is possibly being made into a little film. And then, would you say fund the tour? It also has a live component potentially. Would you fund, say, the tour of that, or, you know, it's kind of like building on a wider project rather than a specific, do you see what I mean? So a different arm of a project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could fund that sort of side of the thing. You know, when touring's all right. Just to say, of course, at the moment, with our Do It Differently funds, and across the board, touring's kind of in the what we can't fund section.
Of course,
yeah. But certainly that development, and you know, as long as it's musical, the musical activity, so doing a touring alongside that film sort of thing, would be eligible for sure.
Okay, and Ellie has asked, how often? Actually, it'd be great to know, how often do all of your funds come around?
Yeah, so this year we're doing, is it two rounds of Do It Differently and 2 rounds of transmission up toward the half year mark. Then we're going to be doing, I'm not sure if I can say this, but we're going to be taking off deadlines, so you can apply when you need to, which is great, isn't it? So you're not, you know, having to just kind of fit it into what our deadlines are. You're coming to us when you need support and when you want to. So that'll be really good.
So would you, in that situation, are you still going to have panels, or are you going to manage it in a different way?
Yeah, we'll still have panels, because it's really important for like independent panel to help us make the decisions. But it'll be, and it'll still be periodically, but it'll be much more of an internal sort of process that you guys don't have to fit into. So it's quite exciting. That's
really exciting. So that's sometime after July or sometime later on in the year.
Yes. So yeah, in answer to your question, I think we'll have, what day is it now? I think you have maybe one more Do It Differently fund before the half year mark, and then one more transmission fund as well, as I say, which opens on the 15th of March.
Okay. Helen E, I don't know who Helen E is, you might have to explain this. Would a music and technology project be funded? Perhaps you can explain that a bit more.
For example, I've created a project called Sounds of Us that's previously been funded, and it basically taking sounds from around the country and creating a sound art piece. But I wanted to use or I know it's available, but I don't have the technical knowledge in terms of which apps I can use to kind of turn it into a bigger, larger scale project. So it's probably more research and development, but it's music and technology, but music at the heart. So I was wondering if you fund that, or if it solely has to be about, recording music and, promoting music solely.
Yeah, that sounds really ideal to the Fusion Fund. I don't know if you caught the little thing I said about that, but that's
I did, yeah.
Sorry?
I did, yeah. So I just had my video off, yeah.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, that sounds absolutely ideal for you. Definitely keep in touch about that. And as I say, as we reach the half year, we should have that open. I'm sorry, I can't say an exact date at the moment, but yeah, sounds really good.
Thank you so much.
And is there, we should have recorded that, is there a limit to the number of times per year you can reapply to a fund?
No, there's no limit. You can apply as much as you like. But if you were to receive the Do It Differently fund or the transmission funds, you wouldn't be able to get that twice within a year. Although after a year's mark, you can reapply. So yeah, you can apply as much as you like.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Lucinda and Stuart.
Okay, any last minute questions before I wrap up? Well,
what's the cut-off date for the Do It Differently fund? Was it the 15th? Did you say that 15th of March?
Yeah, so the 15th of March at 9 a.m.
Okay, and then when will that come round again? I wasn't quite clear.
So that will come back in April, I think. Yeah, so because as soon as, so the 15th of March, as soon as Do It Differently closes, that's when transmission opens. That's open for a month, and then the 15th of April is when the next Do It Differently. So it's kind of like a rolling thing. What I'm going to do is, no worries. So if you wanted to chat through your any projects or anything that we talked about today through again, or one-to-one, here's our kind of sign up form for that. So you can speak to us on the phone, 15-minute sessions to speak to one of our in-house team. Also, I promised the camp. It's really good. We've had fantastic feedback about it. It's a ballot that you can go into. It's 5 days next week, 1 till 11 till 4. So if you're able to do that, the 1st of March to the 5th of March, it's a really nice experience, and it's all over Zoom. So yeah.
Okay, and then that's your link to the support sessions.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope this has been useful for everyone. Help Musicians is a new one for me, really. We have had their funding wizard on our website for ages. I was going to ask you to mention that, Barnaby, because it's worth a good look.
So the funding wizard is where we've kind of trawled the UK and found all the sort of grants and trusts that would be available to you. So even if something as niche as being a cellist in Sussex, there could be a £500 grant for you or something like that. So it's really nice to look through that. And we've got the Arts Council PRSF on there, but also lots of other organisations that you may not be aware of. I certainly wasn't before I looked at the funding wizard.
There's over 100 entries, and you can filter by all sorts of things, instrumentation or project or whatever. So it's worth an hour of your time just having a look.
Yeah, and it's engine as well. Sorry, so you can narrow it down to who you are or what you want to fund, what you want to be funded.
Brilliant. Thank you so much to everybody for coming. Thank you especially to Barnaby. This has been really, really interesting, and I hope it's helpful. It's really great to know that you've got such an open door that people can get one-to-one advice. That's a really, really good thing for a funder to be able to offer. We know it's tough out there getting funding, and you can't really get rid of that competitive part, but I'd say a good chat to Barnaby or his team would be great.